Good day and welcome back to another DZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at, well, to cut a long story short, the, basically how the Dragon Ball Heroes team does in these three magnificent battle stages. Now, I've tested them out in 3 of the main ones. So I reviewed a lot of units in the Vegeta event, so I didn't feel like doing that. But I did the Gohan event, I did the Super Saiyan God Evolved Vegeta event from the USS Blue Zone, and then I did the Goten and Trunks fight from the movie bosses Blue Zone. So I did a couple of the top ones, a couple of the hardest ones. Obviously, I think when you look at the functionality of Super Dragon Ball Heroes, I think you do have to adjust the team, and I've mentioned this before in a couple of other videos looking at Super Dragon Ball Heroes, but I do think you need to adjust the teams a lot more dependent on which fight you're facing. Like if you look at things like movie bosses, most times movie bosses is a pretty self-picked team, let's put it that way. Like it's generally speaking a team that's quite picked, without any significant issues. Like it's a team that picks itself, basically. Super Dragon Ball Heroes is not quite like that. The team itself requires you to, look or build out quite extensively in terms of the
time to get serious.
Just different types of units you bring, because the units are so different in construct. Like they are so different in terms of their construct, how they work, how they function, that it actually makes it quite difficult to just have one set solid pick. I also think the Extreme and Super teams are different variants, but different variants that work quite well in their own way. Like I actually think they are better because of their difference in functionality. Now for the Blue Zones, I did find myself leaning a little bit more closely to the Super Dragon Ball, or Super class Dragon Ball Heroes team, more so than I felt myself leaning towards the Extreme class. Whereas with Red Zones it was kind of like inverse. I found myself heading kind of more towards the Extreme team for the Red Zones. For the Blue Zones, I actually feel myself moving more towards the Super team, and a lot of that is mainly due to the strength of a couple of them, especially damage wise. The Super team feels like it has a lot more damage than the Extreme team. I think if I link leveled my Extreme team, it would be a different story, because I do think the Extreme team's links are incredibly strong, and I find that it is something that is going to be quite useful when they are link leveled. But to get there, you do obviously have to a certain extent, put in a little bit of effort that, maybe functionally speaking, I would say requires a bit more effort than the Super team, because you do need to link level them. I think you probably want more dupes in them, and I think you probably want to put good equipment on them. Then the Extreme team, I think, will hit and be quite comparable damage wise to the Super team. I think right now that's probably what I would say the biggest restraint on the team is that limitation of the team in terms of the requirement to link level, the requirement to do this, requirement to do that. So yeah, I do think it's important. I do think it's something important to consider. With that being said, look, I think in a lot of the Red Zones the teams do fine. The Red Zones mechanically are quite different to, also the Blue Zones or the Magnificent Battles are quite different mechanically to Red Zones. Red zones restrict you quite a bit. Like a lot of the bosses are immune to pretty much everything. Whereas the blue zones, they do have a little bit more mechanics and depth to the fights than maybe the red zones. A lot of the times you can, for example, consider stunning a unit or sealing a unit or lowering that unit's attack. There's certain things that you can kind of use against the bosses due to how hard they hit. And with superheroes that helps a lot. Doesn't solve all the issues. It's not making the game super easy, but I find that with especially the super variation of the team, it's got a lot of tools to deal with that. The extreme side does, but the extreme side is very heavily reliant, I find, on you having Dark King Demigra, just because right now he's their only real super kind of viable tank. Whereas I found like the super team has, obviously Strength Goku. You can obviously double up on Strength Goku, so it tends to make it a little bit more viable, one might say, than, maybe considering like some of the other fights. So I do think like that is something to consider. Like I said, with that being said though, it is ultimately down to what you at the end of the day are able to put together. I think Heroes as a team in general is very, very heavily dupe dependent, and it's very, very, very much so a roster that you change a little bit more than other rosters, because there are certain Heroes units that will specifically excel in certain fights, and there are certain Heroes units that will specifically not excel in certain fights. So it is a little bit difficult, I will say, but I think overall it's something to consider. For me, generally speaking, I do think Heroes can handle all the blue zones with dupes. With dupes or the more recent units, yeah, I think you can. I don't think you need your own Strength Goku. I think you can get by without that, but you definitely want to take the friend one. And you probably need a lot more roster to kind of hold things down. You're going to need to adjust some stuff. With that being said, I do think ultimately at the end of the day, it is a good, it is a good team. It is a good, category, and I think it's got enough going on that it's viable, at least from a blue zone perspective. I think, it's viable in a lot of the in-game content. I've tried it out now in Cell Max, Red Zone, Blue Zone, Magnificent Supreme Battle, or whatever. So definitely think there is enough viability to make things work, but I do think as well, like I say, it's going to depend a little bit on where you are with the units and their dupes. And on the extreme side, have you link leveled them? Have you not link leveled them? What have you done to help this team function the way it should? So yeah, I think that's really it for me. I think it's been a really fun test of the Heroes teams. I think they've done a really good job. So at the end of the day, I am quite impressed with them, at least overall. I will say, for me, last thing I'd probably say, I do find that the Heroes team itself can have moments where it looks really bad, and then it can also have moments where it functions incredibly well because of synergies or units coming together or things just working out, or you're getting the right kind of luck. So it's not necessarily, sometimes you might find that the run starts really badly, and then you might also have runs where everything works out perfectly, because it's just how Heroes seems to be. Yeah, especially when you've got so many evasion centric units and things like that. I think that's just where it is. But yeah, for me, honestly, really, really solid. I think a really cool team. I think everything worked out probably as well as they wanted it to, and I think it's a really cool team to run. yeah, with these new units. There are holes in the teams in both of them, and they definitely don't feel like they are, you know, ridiculously impossibly good. Like, I don't think they're going to survive the 10th anniversary or anything, but I do think, yeah, they are really fun. And for me personally, I would say you can definitely run them to complete all of the current hard content and have a good time.